There we go. All right, this is the most anticipated video of the year. I know it is. This is the Google Sheets training. Doesn't that sound exciting? Almost so exciting we should, whatever, let's go on with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an overview of some of the things that we can do with Google Sheets for those of you who are new to it. Remember, part of this project is manipulating and using the spreadsheet. Spreadsheet use is something you can put on resumes. Many jobs use it. It's a great way to track data, whatever you want to say. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to give you the basics today. If you need something more advanced, like some of the equation building things where you can have it calculate the mode and the median and all that kind of fun stuff, I'll do that in class. So the basic stuff. Just like every spreadsheet, we have numbers down the side in rows. See, if I click on one, it highlights it. And then I have letters in the top as columns. Right? This one skill of just clicking is actually going to give us quite a bit of flexibility. You'll also notice here that there's these little arrows that show up. If I click on that little arrow, it allows me to insert, hide, randomize. It's also going to give me the opportunity to delete all of these kind of fancy things. So the first thing is, how do we add a row or delete a row? You'll notice in the one I gave you here that I have 2 marches. Well, I don't need 2 march. So if I click it on the number, I can go under edit, which most of these things are, and see it says delete row 9. Well, I'm on row 9, so I'm going to delete row 9. That's going to delete the whole range. Not the whole range. It's going to delete the whole row. You can also just delete parts of it. So you'll see here it says delete cells and shift up. So this is just going to move every cell underneath up. So that's another option. Okay. What if I want to add a row? So if you're doing something like this, cost of activities. If I click on, say, 50 here, I can go to Insert, and you'll see it says row above. So if I click on that, it's going to give me a row above and keep all of the formatting for the whole row. Now, if you are using a regular mouse or you've got a right click, you can also do all of this stuff just by right clicking or double tapping on a laptop. So here it says insert, delete, all that kind of stuff as well. But many of you don't have that, so always just go up to the edit. So that's how you add or delete rows. The next thing I want to talk about is how do we get these averages and totals. So you'll see down here, when I click on this cell, it says 32. Up at the top here, it says equals average, and then it has these yellow numbers and letters in there. Those are referring to this cell. So this here is C7 all the way down to C18. So if I want to do that, I have to move this over a little bit. There we go. I have this little, it's a sum. Okay, so this is the Greek letter that we use for sum. If I click on that, it tells me sum, which means I add it all up, the average, count, max, or min. The only ones we really care about in this are sum, which is adding it up, or the average. So on these ones, I have the average. And for those of you who have taken the time to watch this, you get a little bonus, because if you look at monthly airplane costs, it may say total. So the way you change that is you're going to click on the sum feature, and we're going to hit average. And then right away, see it says average with a bracket? Now all we do is we click on the range that we want it to calculate the average for. So we highlight that, hit enter, and then when we go to this box, it says average of those numbers. So that's how you change it from average to total. Total is always going to be your sum. I'm going to turn this camera off here for a sec. Or I'm going to make it really big. There we go. Maybe my camera's not even on. I don't even know. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change these decimal things. We actually don't need all these decimals. So up at the top, you'll see this has a 0.0 and an arrow that goes to the left. We could also just go plain number. You can kind of set what you want it to do, currency rounded, and this is going to round it with the dollar. So that's a quick, easy way. So there's that thing that has 1, 2, 3 and the arrow down. Currency rounded will give you that. That's probably the easiest way. The other way you can do it though, let's find another one. Do I have another one? No, so we'll just go like that. You can also do this one that says decrease decimal places, and every time I push the button, it's going to drop down until I have the right number that I want. So that's 2 quick things. The other thing I always want you to do at the bottom is make sure you clean up your tabs. So this one just says data. This one just says budget. Okay, that's going to be really important next week. Next thing, let's talk about how to manipulate our graph a little bit. So the first thing that we want to manipulate is the color, okay? And color change is really easy. If I want to highlight this one, so March is the month I've decided to go, so I'm going to highlight it by pressing down on your mouse and dragging. Then I go to the bucket, the paint can. And in this one, I'm going to make this one green because that's my chosen month. That really is that's all there is to it. I would encourage you not to highlight an entire row like this, because that's just going to go on forever, even past your data or data. I don't even know what I like to say anymore. Down here, see how we got all kinds of like border differences? If we want these to look really crisp, I'm going to go under the borders. And in here, I've got all kinds of options. I generally like to make borders that are going to define an edge a little bit bolder. So you can see how that changed there. So this is what it looks like now. I'm going to highlight that month column and I'm going to make it bold. See how much it's easier to see that? It kind of jumps out. Maybe I'll do that over here too. I could just put in that side border over here, and that gives me a nice thick border. So those little things, I know they're kind of fiddly and time consuming, but they do. Oh, see, I got another one. I got that nice thin border on the outside. I want to make that a thick border. There. So it does make a difference when we come to presentation. But again, that's up to you. Now, the last one is charts and tables. So this is the main skill that you're going to be working on. So what we need to do first is highlight all of the data. Do not include the average or the top title, but you do want to keep the X and Y titles. So whatever if you're using my template, the purple stuff, that we want to keep. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to Insert and click on Chart. Now, again, a little quick shortcut. Will it work here? Insert, cells. Nope, you have to go into Insert. So I go Insert, click on Chart, and it's going to default to a line graph. And like we talked about in class, you're going to notice that it gives you this gigantic chart. So I would resize this and move it around. Now I got a problem. What do you think I should do? Let's take a look. Look at that. So my chart doesn't fit in between my two T-tables. Shoot, that's not a big deal. Remember that little drop-down button? Zoom in here again. This little drop-down button, if I highlight it, if I click on this row, I can actually push that all out of the way. So now I have way enough room. That's good English. I have plenty of room to do what I need to do. So let's take a look at how we can change this chart though. The very first thing you want to do is under Chart Styles. Okay, so these chart styles is going to give you all kinds of different layouts. But under the setup, if I click on this line chart, now I'm going to have all kinds of different choices. You'll notice how it automatically does the high and the low. Maybe I want to do a scatter plot. What else? I could do some of these fancy ones where it gives me area. Sometimes I can even get 3D. This is an interesting one. Shows me the high and the low of each day in a stacked column. This is where you get to play. The one thing is that if you have data that is not a fraction of a whole. So like what percentage of the population wears blue shoes? That would be a percentage of the whole. You want to make sure you're using a line or a bar type graph. Once you have that, then we're going to customize it. Remember, a perfect t-table and chart has titles right here. So I'm going to go into title, and this would be Bali temperature by month. Pretty much whatever the title on your t-table is, that's what the table on that is. You also need a vertical and a horizontal axis. So the x-axis is already labeled. My vertical axis is going to be temperature in Celsius. And you'll see right on the side, it's putting that in as I go. Now, let's say you want to change all of these colors, all of these bottom bars. I want to make that ice blue. And then I want to make all, so you click on the piece of the graph that you want to change, like this, high, low. And then what I can do is I can go, okay, let's make that one purple. So you can modify them. You can also just use the auto colors too. Okay, now the last thing when you're using these graphs is once you have them embedded into your spreadsheet, what I'm going to have you do, because you may want to use these later on in some other kind. If you ever want, you can actually download these as a PNG. So if I click download PNG, it's going to show up down in my downloads, and I can actually drag and drop that into anything else I'm doing. So here it is, right there. See, now I've got this lovely little temperature graph. Here's the exact same data in a different graph I did earlier. So just save it as something you'll remember, and you're good to go. All right, so that's the quick and dirty version. Next time I'll film one on how to use the calculation tools and also how to link data between different sheets. Thank you so much. See you later.